Man with the Axe. Written by Abby Brenker. Narrated by Abby Brenker.
She was convinced from a very young age that something horrific was going to happen to her someday. She just knew it. Between the scary movies her parents brought the family to, and falling asleep as the X-Files theme drifted into her room from the living room each night, she was primed for a horror ending. Her first-floor bedroom freaked her out. It seemed all too easy for some serial murderer like the Golden State Killer just to waltz up with a knife and slash through her oh-so-thin window screen. It was too hot to sleep with the windows closed in the summer, and her family didn't have any air conditioners. Her dad said they were useless money pits. She wasn't sure what that meant, but as she laid sweating in bed, she cursed him for his frugal attitude. Not because of the heat, but because of her unlocked, wide-open, first-floor bedroom windows around her. They were practically asking for a home invasion. She was particularly scared on this night because her parents were out of town. Her older and very irresponsible brother was supposed to be watching her, though it really felt like she was babysitting him. She had to order the pizza and clean up the kitchen after his friends left. They thought they were cool because all 6 of them shared one beer during dinner. She had rolled her eyes. She rolled over in bed. She had been trying not to look out the window. It only freaked her out more. She'd end up staring at a shadow for 10 minutes, convinced it was a hidden killer. She had heard a noise, a creaking and a snap. She knew it had to be nothing, just an animal, because for 13 years, until now, it had been nothing. But as she turned to look towards the source of the sound, she saw that it was indeed not nothing. A man stood in the middle of her yard. He was wearing a bright red, long-sleeved shirt and jean overalls. He had a sort of half mask on, covering the top of his face. It certainly wasn't her imagination animating a shadow. He was clearly a man in an absurd outfit, wearing a creepy mask, holding a large axe, looking directly at her. Her jaw dropped. She always pictured herself screaming in this sort of situation, but no sound came out. He swung the axe up over his shoulder. Slowly a wide grin spread across his face. Suddenly she sprang into action. She rolled off her bed and slammed her window shut, locking it. There was a second window in her room, near the back of the house. She didn't want to take her eyes off of him, but she knew she had to lock it. She backed towards it, crossing her room backwards, not taking her eyes off of him until the very last second. He remained still, his smile as wide as ever. She locked it, safe. Until she remembered the windows in the rest of the house. Had her dad remembered to lock the back door before they left on their trip? Her mom was always yelling at him about that. She sprinted. She started to yell as she made her way through the house, locking windows. She banged on her brother's door as she passed it. He had a phone line in his room. "Ben, call the police. Wake up." Nothing. He must be dead asleep. She locked the kitchen windows, checked the back door, locked the living room. Everything seemed in order. She peered through the stained glass of the front door. She could see the man with the axe's outline through the glass panels. He remained still. She thought about how easy it would be for him to use the axe to break the glass. Was that why he was smiling? He knew that no matter what she tried, he was still going to get her. Without taking her eyes off the man, she picked up the receiver in the living room. She almost laughed to herself. No dial tone. She had been right. She was going to die in a horror movie death. How cliché. He had even cut the phone line. Almost hysterical, she unlocked and flung the living room window open. "Are you serious? How predictable can you be? You even cut the phone line?" He didn't flinch. She almost thought his smile widened slightly, as if he acknowledged her joke. She slammed the window back down and locked it, now convinced it would do nothing to keep him from her, nothing to shield her from death. She ran back to Ben's room. His car was her last hope. His room was on the side of the house. She'd have to sacrifice her view of the man. She flung open his surprisingly unlocked door. She couldn't see him, but she lunged at his bed. "Ben, wake up, there's a guy outside with..." She couldn't feel anything. She clapped to turn on his light. He wasn't there. Of all the nights he wanted to sneak out to see Jemima Golden, he couldn't have at least told her first. It's not like she'd tattle on him. Fuck! What could she do now? She ran back into the living room. She felt better when she had eyes on the man. He was still there. Her bike. She remembered her bike. Her dad had set it up in the garage before they left, in case it was an emergency and Ben was bleeding to death, he had joked. The thought of pedaling out into the night with her nightgown on and a man with an axe in the yard wasn't appealing. She didn't know what else to do. She knew logically that she couldn't sit here and wait for him to make his move. She thought about sneaking off into the woods behind the house, but on foot he'd surely catch her. Maybe he had other accomplices hiding in the forest around the property, waiting for her to come close. Maybe he was just a distraction from a real threat. She didn't know, but she did know that she wasn't going to accept this ending. She realized he could see her moving around the house. She dropped. She crawled below the window line towards the kitchen, hiding behind the island counter. She snuck a long steak knife out of the drawer and continued on towards the garage. She hoped her dad had forgotten to close the garage door. Opening it would give the man too much of a heads up on her plan. It would only work if he didn't notice her until she was on the bike, speeding towards the main road. She slowly opened the door leading to the garage and let out an almost silent sigh of relief. It was open. Her bike sat parked in front of Ben's car. Her dad had even left her helmet on top of the seat. Wait, Ben's car? It all came flooding to her. Her stupid fucking older brother was pranking her because he knew she was scared. He knew she'd be extra vulnerable with her parents out of town. How could she not have noticed him in his stupid half mask? He had teased her about being scared in front of his friends at dinner. Well, fuck him. She buckled on the helmet out of habit and boarded the bike. She tucked the steak knife into the pink basket on the front and started to pedal. She pedaled as fast and as hard as she could towards the man with the axe. She was like a silent predator on her front lawn. Where did he even get that stupid fucking fake axe? Why hadn't she noticed that it wasn't real all along? She considered herself an aficionado on murder weapons and horror movies. Well, joke's on him. The man with the axe slowly turned towards her, but it was too late. She was on him immediately. She didn't wait to jump off the bike. She rode it right into him, and they crashed into the cool ground. "Fuck you, Ben," she screamed as she hit him. "You're a piece of shit. Some older brother you are." The man tried to struggle free, but he seemed dazed. His leg was jammed under the bike frame at an odd angle, the axe handle acting as a wedge. "I'm so sick of your bullshit. You're supposed to protect me. Johnny even walks Lucy to school every morning. What do? Try to fucking scare me like a creep." She let it all out. She wasn't sure her hits were doing much to hurt him, but they made her feel better. "Stupid, weird half-mask. Where did you even get?" She froze. Her heart slipped into her stomach. She had knocked the mask off. To mock it, maybe to use it to hit him with. It wasn't Ben. She scrambled back, jerking away from him. He tried to snatch her, but his leg was twisted. It must have been broken. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw the knife. Grabbing it before he did, and without thinking, she slammed it into his chest. She had seen it done so many times before in the movies. She wasn't expecting to have any effect at all on him. Monsters normally need much more than a single stab wound in the chest to die. Turns out he was only a man. As thick blood poured out of him, she started to sob. Her arm brushed against the very real axe that had severed his lower leg when she crashed into him. Another creak and a snap. Her eyes jumped to the tree line, and she saw what might be a shadow, something swaying slightly in the dark. Should she run back to the house? What was that muffled noise? It almost sounded like a cry. She unceremoniously pulled the knife out of the man's chest. Was someone calling her name? It only took her a few steps to see what the shadow was. It was Ben, tied up and gagged. She ran over to him, collapsing next to him with joy. "Ben!" Using the knife to cut him free, she looked over him. "You seem okay. Are you all right? You just fucking killed him. You saved me. Do you think I'm going to go to jail? Holy shit, no way. Self-defense. He was going to kill us both. Dude, I can't believe you. You're amazing." As she helped Ben towards the neighbor's house to call the police, one thought kept returning to her. If this wasn't her horror movie ending, what would be?